When you're face to face and you're about to hire someone, what are the intangibles that you're looking for?
Right now, AI, fundamentally think it's going to transform how all of us work. Our jobs may be totally different in 2 years from now. I'm not hiring for your experiences having done this job for 2 years. I'm hiring you for your experiences so that you can learn in the next 2 years with the next iteration of this job.
Very curious your predictions for 5-10 years from now. What roles do you think disappear entirely?
I think the most important message there, though, is nobody trusts you when you're a startup, and so you really need to build trust with your customers. And the way you build trust, is obviously through product, but it's also the cultural things. You always deliver for your customers. You always want to exceed what your customers' expectations are for you, and you follow through your promises to customers.
You're fresh out of college, fresh out of university, you're going for your first job at Salesforce. What role do you want? What department do you want it to be in, and why?
My personal answer is,
You ready?
guess I should look at you.
I'm gonna read you a line. I grew up with immigrant parents and love working with people who feel they have something to put into the world. Unpack that for me.
I think that there are a lot of incredible people out there in the world, and a lot about how I think about developing talent is ensuring that great people have an opportunity to reach their fullest potential.
Interesting. For you as once a founder, now working at Agent Force, now working Salesforce, how do you find amazing people? Broad question, but how do you find amazing people?
Yeah, there's some great folks on this. I think it's one of those things, though, you can read all the books, but you don't end up actually, learning how to do it until you do it yourself. They're tactical things, right? How do you ask interesting interview questions? I recently had someone send me an interesting question they like to ask, which is, what are the tabs that are open in your Chrome browser? Right? I like the unconventional questions that really get to what matters to someone, what is interesting and meaningful, and how do they spend their time when no one is watching, right? I think that speaks a lot about, what a person's interests are. And then there's I think a lot of it is also giving people a chance who don't have the traditional resume backgrounds. I think one of the mistakes, frankly, that I've had on my own journey on firing is to be too enamored with the certain type of resume, and really giving people a chance, looking at what they've done. Have they done something really incredible for the context and the environment that they were in for?
Let's talk a bit more about that. I want to talk about the intangibles that you notice when you're face to face. When you're face to face and you're about to hire someone, you're interviewing them for a position, what are the intangibles that you're looking for beyond the resume, beyond the project of working for, beyond the projects they're working on? What are you looking for in how they speak and how they conduct themselves?
Relentless curiosity, I think, is super important. Striving to be the best in no matter what they do, so mastering a craft. And then they have to be passionate about what you're working on. I think right now AI is obviously moving so fast. I fundamentally think it's going to transform how all of us work. And you think about that world where you and I, our jobs may be totally different in 2 years from now, right? So I'm not hiring for your experiences having done this job for 2 years. I'm hiring you for your experiences so that you can learn in the next 2 years what the next iteration of this job is going to. Right? I think that's super important, and relentless curiosity is the best signal of people who actually can learn. This is my experience. So relentless curiosity is very important. Being passionate about something is very important. Ideally, it's the thing that you're working on. But what I find is people who have some things that they're passionate about in life, it usually correlates with being able to have the determination to work on something even when things get hard. And that is very important, right? You need to have the persistence. And people who are passionate and have signals of persistence, I think that's really powerful.
Interesting. Talking about the future of work, you've just mentioned there, you obviously work deeply with AI and agents. I'm very curious, your predictions for 5-10 years from now. What do jobs look like? Are we talking about agent orchestrators? Are we talking about agent Q&A safety? What does that future of work look like? And what roles do you think disappear entirely?
There are a couple of questions in there. So I'll talk about orchestration. I'll talk about the role for a society. Role of work. We're all going to become agent managers. And I'm very excited by the idea of building AI agents so that individuals like you and I can become even more creative and even more uh, resource because they have agents. I'm also really excited about the same world where a customer success manager who previously never managed a single person in their life can now think at a higher level of strategic thinking because they have AI agents that work for them, right? And a good analogy of this is where we used to all be essentially producers and now we're all directors, right? We're not thinking as much about the how to get something done, but we're thinking more about what needs to get done and why. And I think that's the mindset shift that will happen when you have AI agents in the workspace. Orchestration obviously is a big one. There's sort of orchestration with agents and with people. There's orchestration with agents and other agents. Orchestration with agents and other agents. This MCP, A2A, we can talk a lot about the different frameworks out there of how you can make this happen. I think the most important message there, though, is businesses will, I think, build a wide sweat of agents. And what's very important is that those agents can work together. On the humans and agents working together piece, I fundamentally believe that humans play a very important role in the agent process, no matter how sophisticated AI becomes. And part of why this is ultimately your agents or your AI, you want to build it in the service of certain human goals. And the job of the person who is managing an agent, just like how the job of a human managing another human, is your goal is to really clearly articulate and distill what the objectives that you want from that agent are. And it's like this is just like with a human. So you don't tell them, hey, this is your job description, now go do it, and you expect them to do their job perfectly, right? It's an iterative process. And I think in the same way, working with agents will be like that. Like you need humans in the loop to continuously iterate with your agent towards better and better objective functions for your agent to align with what your human wants on.
Interesting, man. I want to speak about culture. So obviously you're in this role now within Salesforce, within Agent Force. You spent a while developing Moonhub. What is similar amongst the cultures and how they approach AI, how they approach development, and what's different?
I think both companies have this core value of trust. And it means a little bit different for both of the companies, but ultimately the fourth thing is trust is important when building a company. And like trust with your customers, trust with your employees and your team. At Salesforce, this, trust is our number one value. And that is a core part of how the company operates, right? Like if you look at our product, we have a trust layer for Agent Force, right? We think a lot about customers use us because they know that they can trust our products to actually deliver for enterprise scale for them. And we take a lot of the, thinking that they have to think about around governance and security out of their, out of what they have to do on a day-to-day basis, and we help to take care of that. At my last company, it was a lot about building trust with customers in the early stages. When you're a startup, nobody trusts you, right? It's the exact opposite, but in the same way, trust is also very important. Nobody trusts you when you're a startup. And so you really need to build trust with your customers. And the way you build trust, is obviously through product, but it's also the cultural things. Like you always deliver for your customers. You always want to exceed what your customers' expectations are for you, and you follow through your promises for customers, right? I think those fundamental values are the same.
Do you operate from a place of trust? Like I can imagine as a first time founder, you're in Moonhub, not first time, but a founder. When you're building that, loads of people are coming at you with different opportunities. We want to invest, we want to help you with this. And trust is great as this like ideal utopian way with to operate. But like how do you bring that into practical terms?
This is my personal management style now. I think the way I manage my teams, and you should talk to people that have worked with me in the past, is I think it's really important to hire great people and then give them a lot of autonomy and trust. Um, I learned this also having been in a PhD program. This is the best analogy. People think I was at Stanford, I did my computer science PhD there. people don't do a PhD at Stanford for the money, right? You get paid $50,000 a year. All these computer science PhDs could go a lot more money and their places, right? But the reason why they do it is because they're there because one, they're passionate about the subject, and because they have the autonomy to know the things that they think are important to know. And obviously, in a company, you can't have people going in 50 different directions. But fundamentally, I think the goal of a good leader is to bring in really talented people, set very clear direction. Kind of going back to what I was saying about, like, how do you set objective functions for agents? It's the same thing where people set really clear direction on what success looks like, and then give people autonomy within the space to actually work. Uh, I think really good people function the best when you give them a lot of autonomy at your store.
This gives me a little bit of an insight into like you as a leader. And I find it always interesting to kind of flip on its head. There's lots of things that you're great at as a leader, right? You wouldn't have as much success as you do if you didn't, right? Where do you think you fall short? You fool.
There are a lot of areas that, I think all leaders should constantly reflect on their leadership style and think about how they could be improving. I appreciate it when my team gives me feedback. I'll say one thing is, like, pretty impatient.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of founders you meet might say this, but like I I'm pretty impatient. And I think this translates to the upside of it is, we ship fast, we move quickly, and we want products to go out quickly. Um, but the truth is, in some environments, right, things take time. And I think that is both perhaps one of the greater strengths, but also one of the areas where, as a leader, I think I need to work.
Yeah. Has that been difficult, that transition from working in a startup to working with kind of large B2B enterprise?
Absolutely. I think oftentimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness and vice versa, right? And I think these things all take adjustment. Now, one of the actually really awesome parts about being part of Salesforce is I was very pleasantly surprised by how fast we move on Agent Force. Right? When I started at Agent Force, I thought, well, boy, big company. Um, I love speed. It's going to be tricky. And I, the Agent Force team, they move really quickly. It's an incredible team, and that has been one of actually the best parts of being on the Agent Force team now.
Interesting. I want to paint a hypothetical for you. So this isn't far out of your range, but you are 21 again. You're fresh out of college, fresh out of university, whatever you guys call it, and you're going for your first job at Salesforce. What role do you want? What department do you want it to be in, and why? Let's say you've got your brain, but not your accolades to frame it.
Oh, right. I'll give you my personal answer, and I'll give you a more general advice. My personal answer is, like, I love systems thinking. I'm I'm a mathematician at heart. I love sort of thinking about technical details of things. So I think for me personally, I would do what I'm doing now, but or be on the team that I am now, just earlier in my career. Got right? I will work on product, I work on engineering. That'd be really exciting for me. You need research. I think there are a lot of exciting directions that we're working on at Salesforce. Like, part of the nice thing about Agent Force 2 is, we work so collaboratively across like research, across engineering, across product, and really, regardless of which of these teams or functions you want to call it are, they're really blended together. And I think when you look towards how do we become even more of an AI native company, it's about some of these roles start to blend, right? Maybe in 5 years there isn't like research department and right department and engineering department. These things are sort of what. My general advice though is I think people should do what they're really passionate about, because ultimately you are going to be a lot more successful in what you're passionate about than what other people tell you is the right thing to do, but you're not passionate. So people should do what they're passionate about, map that to whatever role that is within a company. And with AI moving so fast, going back to my earlier point, you just have to continuously be curious at work, and don't silo yourself in a box. Really pursue your passions, be curious, just continuously learn, and good things pop. That's what I kind of my brain, and be around good people.
I have one last question for you. Everyone kind of takes this. How do you take it? I'm not going to provide any further context, and I encourage you to take a couple seconds before you answer.
Say your quote one more time.
So, was it a quote? I ask the same of all my podcast guests.
Sure.
Same question. I'm not going to give you any more context, and people take it in different ways. So, beyond the scope of work, most normally. Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, no, the China was on the art, yeah.
Genuinely believe AI is going to be one of the most transformational events in human history. And in some ways, we're so incredibly lucky to live in this point in time right now to have the opportunity to work on AI, right? Where we're too late to be discoverers to map out the world, right? But we've already done that. We're also probably a little too early to like all go to space and become intergalactic species. And when you think about it in that lens, like AI is really in the moment right now where we are in the right time, in the right place to change the course of human history if we do AI the right way. And that to me is fundamentally so inspiring. And that's why I do what I do. You know, I think we should all do our best to try and make positive impact in our lifetime. So you keep full account of humanity, and I think AI is our chance to do it in the next 100 years.
Beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate you, Nancy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry if
It
it's
was wonderful. Thank you so much.